Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back, and behind me you can see my furnace from my Chinook. This furnace isn't working, and in this video today we're going to take a look at it and hopefully get it running. So the first part of this process is getting this thing hooked up. I've got my propane here. So we will get that connected and turned on. I also have a lithium iron phosphate battery here. I've got 4 wires from the Chinook. I've got a red, a yellow, and 2 blues. I'm going to set the blues aside and focus on the red and the yellow. The yellow is going to be connected to the negative terminal of the battery here, and the red one is going to be connected to the positive terminal of the batteries. And make sure that these wires are not in any way going to be able to touch each other or anything like that. I don't want anything to short circuit or anything like that. Now these 2 blue wires are the thermostat, and anytime you want to send a signal to get the furnace to run, you have to connect these wires or close this circuit. Now there's 3 things that are pretty prevalent on these units. One of them is the cell switch. It's on this far side, and when the fan runs, it pushes a paddle back and it allows power to come to here. This is the over temperature protection sensor. I already know that the cell switch is working, so I'm going to take my multimeter here and I'm going to ground it to the case, or ground it right here. And what I'm looking for is voltage. I see 13 volts right there, and I see 13 volts on the other side. If I didn't have power on my cell switch over here, I would not have voltage here. So the fact that I have voltage going through, that means I have voltage to my circuit board, which is right here. Now I've already tested off camera, and I know that this circuit board is bad because I'm not getting any ignition off of this furnace. Now normally you would see this thing ignite and this little sight glass would illuminate. It would show that you're ignited. I'm not having that. So I disconnect these 2 blue wires. The reason for that is because I want to disrupt the signal from the thermostat. I want to tell it, okay, I don't need any more heat, go ahead and turn off. The furnace has to let itself blow on a timer, and then when it's finished blowing, it'll turn itself off. So, okay, there you have it. You can see that the furnace stopped. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the power from the furnace, so all of these wires are just hanging out. They're not doing nothing. Let me show you the cell switch. When the fan blows, it pushes this switch back. See that right there? That is the cell switch. So that's the first thing to check. And then of course the second thing that I mentioned is you want to see if you have voltage right here on that wire right there, and this is the over temperature sensor, and you want to make sure that you're getting voltage through that. If this heater gets too hot, there's a bimetallic strip in there and it'll flex and it'll lose continuity. It'll lose the connection, and as a result of that lost connection, you will not get voltage going to your circuit board. But in our case, we had voltage through, which meant we had voltage to the circuit board, but still no ignition, no fire, nothing like that. So I'm going to go ahead and swap out this circuit board. Now this is actually pretty simple. You have 1 wire, goes right here. This is the wire that goes all the way over to the sparker. This will ignite your furnace. And then you have this little white part right here. You can unplug right there, and that's what plugs into the circuit board. So you only have those two connections to make on this particular model. I've got 2 screws here. I'm going to take those 2 screws out with the standard number 2 Phillips, and we're going to pull this circuit board off. There's 1, there's 2. Very simple. Now we can take the board off and look at it a little closer if we want to. So in our case right here, that's what we have. Very straightforward, simple little board. It's got these little standoffs on it. I don't see anything visually that looks bad, but this is really the only part left in the system that it could be. So I picked up the Dinosaur. This is model UIB. It's Universal Ignition Board, S for small, and make sure that it's for 12 volt. So I picked this up. This was about $100. I don't need to look at the directions or anything. I'm just going to pull this board out, take a look, and kind of give it a little visual, compare it briefly to the old one. I'm looking for form factor to make sure it's the same dimensions and stuff like that. And as you can see, it's the same size. If I would have got a large, it would have still worked, but it wouldn't have fit right. So we're going to plug in our sparker here, and we're going to plug in our thing here. We also have something new on this board that the other board didn't have, and that's this little LED indicator. So this helps us troubleshoot and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this put onto the heater here. And again, the connections are very simple. You got that, and you got that. It's really simple to plug these boards in. Set that down. I got 2 screws, as you saw a second ago. We've got one going right here on the top. Let's see, right there. And we got the other one right here on the bottom corner. Make sure that there's no wires pinched underneath the board. We don't want to accidentally pinch a wire or something. So just give a little bit of a torque there, not too much. And that's all there is to it. At this point, I'm going to turn the heater kind of into a different orientation because I want to be able to see this sight glass. I want to see if this furnace is going to fire or not, and we'll be able to look in that sight glass to see if that happens. Okay, I've got everything hooked up. You can see that the battery is really close. That's because I didn't want to use these jumpers. I don't know if these wires were thick enough, so I just went ahead and connected these wires directly to the battery. I got a very short run, very close connection. I'm going to try to fire this thing up now. You can see I got some carbon felt here as an insulator. This is the stuff that they use when they're going to be brazing copper lines. So they'll put that against the wall, and then their torch will hit this material. So I know that it'll work for being on this furnace. I'm going to look at this sight glass here and see if I can get ignition. Let's go ahead and cross these thermostat wires and see what happens. I have a feeling that we're going to have success. So the fan kicked on. Now we just have to wait, and we're going to keep a close eye on this window. We're waiting for ignition. I'm going to raise the camera up a little bit so I get a better angle looking downward. You can see there's the spark. And there's the ignition. Woohoo! We have ignition on the furnace. I am happy. That's what we've been waiting for all along. Today's a good day. That is fantastic. I can feel everything heating up. Very nice. At this point, now that I know that the testing is done, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect these wires, and it'll let the thing turn off. Then I can put it back in the Chinook. So when I break that connection, it tells the unit that I don't need any more heat. So you can see the flame went out, the fan will run to clear the air out of the system, and then it'll shut off. I like that new board that I got from Dinosaur Electronics. It's fantastic. It's fixed all my problems. I'm very happy today. I'm just waiting for the fan to go through its cycle, and it'll stop here any minute. There we go. That's a wrap. Okay, it's the moment of truth. I have this thing installed in the Chinook. Let's go ahead and turn the thermostat on, and let's see what happens down here. Is it gonna light? Fingers crossed. Takes about 20 seconds. There's the spark. Woo, there's the ignition. Woohoo! And it appears that the flame is staying on. So that is absolutely fantastic. So as you can see, that Dinosaur board fixed my problem. I'm a happy camper right now.